So welcome everyone to today's workshop on Oxford handwriting. So today I will talk a little about the importance of handwriting, and following on from that I'll provide an overview of Oxford handwriting and the print and digital resources that are a part of that. Then finally, I'll talk about how Oxford handwriting and how explicit teaching can be used to assist and develop your students' handwriting skills and ensure they adopt the correct technique and develop automaticity. The importance of handwriting. So it reduces the cognitive load and supports cognitive thought process. So there's been a number of studies that link handwriting automaticity with improved handwriting ability. Research conducted by McMaster and Roberts from Deakin University in Geelong resolved that thoughts flow more freely once the skill of handwriting has developed and becomes more automatic in the individual. So I've detailed an excerpt from the article on handwriting in 2015, a main occupation for primary school aged children in the classroom. This is also supported by Alison Clark. So Alison Clark is a speech pathologist who's compared the skill of handwriting to the skill of swimming. So Alison stresses the importance of modelling and explicit teaching instruction in order to develop correct handwriting and swimming technique. So with modelling and practice, these skills will eventually become automatic, fluid and intuitive and place less cognitive demand on the brain. I've included an excerpt from Alison's article entitled Writing is Like Swimming. The analogy of swimming stroke to handwriting, I believe, is particularly pertinent in this situation. Improved reading, writing, spelling, and grammar skills. So there is a correlation between improved handwriting ability and improved reading and writing. As your handwriting skills become automatic and more intuitive, your ideas and thoughts flow more freely. This leads to better reading and writing ability. So this is supported by international research and an Australian study conducted by researchers Mel Peake, Pasternak and Vulcan from Murdoch University in Perth in their article entitled Handwriting Automaticity and Writing Instruction in Australian Kindergarten. An improvement in handwriting ability will ultimately support and enhance the student's understanding of spelling, grammar, and punctuation. And we're all aware that the internet can sometimes be a distraction. The physical act of putting pen to paper ensures that the student is engaged with the task at hand and can concentrate on identifying discrepancies in their spelling and grammar. Microsoft Word spelling and grammar is a blessing, but it should not be relied on when it comes to developing sound knowledge of spelling and grammar rules and conventions. It can be very easy to glaze over the results of a Microsoft Word spell check. You're never really truly learning the reasons why something is ungrammatical or spelt incorrectly. One would be less likely to retain that information or that knowledge for future reference. So this is why it's important to learn the fundamentals of handwriting technique in order to support spelling and grammar skills. From a physical perspective, the introduction of handwriting during primary supports the development of fine and gross motor skills, as well as muscle memory. Enhances decoding ability. So there's a correlation between a child's ability to write a letter, name the letter, and the associated sound. Again, this explicit teaching instruction, modelling and practice is what will develop a student's handwriting ability and understanding of letters and numerals. This is supported by Dr. Noella Mackenzie, who is an associate professor from Charles Sturt University in New South Wales, and she details this in her article entitled Handwriting, Keyboarding, or Both. Memory retention. So there's been multiple studies into the connection between handwriting and memory retention. This has also been acknowledged by and supported by Dr. Noella McKenzie. But in one such study I recall reading online, there was a group of students asked to handwrite, and the students were able to recall their piece of writing more definitively than students that had typed up a block of writing. In another study, handwriting practice produced better letter recognition in students than those who solely used typing and digital devices. This was the findings of research conducted by Longcamp and Vallet from the University of Marseille in France. Memory retention is important. So you want your students to remember what you are teaching, and handwriting is one of the best ways for students to embed your teaching in their minds. And finally, handwriting remains one of the most common skills in the home, school, and workplace. So, an overview of Oxford handwriting. At Oxford, we've developed a whole school handwriting program that supports all year levels of primary school, particularly those early years of foundation to year 2. When students need to adopt correct handwriting technique, in those early years. We've also generated multiple editions to support the various state-specific fonts. I'll go into more detail about the Victorian edition today, which uses a Victorian modern cursive font. So, models correct grip and posture and includes full color illustrations. So at the beginning of each foundation to year 4 student book, there's a diagram on the 3 Ps: posture, paper position, and pencil grip. Developing motor skills is important, but what is even more important is adopting the correct seating posture. This is for ergonomic reasons. Paper position, so this will change depending on if the student is left or right-handed, and pencil grip, again, if the student is left or right-handed. And as you can see in the diagram up on the slide there, there's examples of left and right-handed students. And the reasons for this is it reduces muscle strain and develops those fine motor skills and muscle memory. It's all about getting the fundamentals of handwriting correct by explicit teaching instruction and correct modelling. This is another one of those areas that can lead into handwriting becoming more automatic and reducing the cognitive load on the student. So the student books are in full colour and contain full colour illustrations. There are opportunities for students to colour in black and white illustrations, hence developing those motor skills again. Many of the recurring characters like Eddie and Tracker Jack also feature in our guided reading series, Reading for Comprehension. And these characters and tips provide the students with direction, what to do next after completing a certain exercise. Again, explicit teaching, instruction, and modelling. The words in the student books and digital interactive activities are tied into our Oxford Wordlist. So the Oxford Wordlist contains the 500 words most frequently used by students in their first 3 years of school. The workbooks cover both letters and numbers. As you can see in the examples on this slide, there are opportunities to track and trace. There is even an opportunity to colour in an illustration down below there. Offers track, trace, and copy. As you can see here, there are a couple of examples of the track, trace, and copy exercises that feature throughout the student books. It is important for students to track their progress. It's also important for the correct modelling and explicit teaching instruction to be adhered to. As you can see in the example on this slide, there are multiple opportunities to repeat letters and patterns, encouraging automaticity and reinforcing the development of those motor skills. There are opportunities in the workbooks for self-assessment. Students can flag how they think they are tracking with the various exercises in the workbooks. There are fields adjacent to self-assessment for teachers to include comments. It is all about opening up that dialogue with students, finding out what they may be struggling with, and then performing some further modelling, practice and explicit teaching instruction where necessary. It's important to intervene in bad handwriting technique early so that students can improve their skills and develop good automatic handwriting technique. Again, going back to that analogy of comparing swimming with handwriting. If you do not adopt a proper stroke during swimming, you obviously get nowhere pretty fast. The same could be said with handwriting. Poor handwriting technique will slow down the cognitive process and will ultimately become a struggle for the student. And finally, outside of the content of the student books, we have a robust free digital offering for Oxford Handwriting, and this can be found on Oxford Owl, our primary digital platform. So later on, I'll show you how you can access the free digital interactives and certificates and worksheets available via Oxford Owl. All of our various editions are entitled Oxford Handwriting for New South Wales, Oxford Handwriting for Western Australia, and Oxford Handwriting for Queensland, except for our Victoria edition, which is called Handwriting First for Victoria. I'll now show you a series of slides detailing the content of each year level in those workbooks and how handwriting skills and technique is developed through each year level. So foundation year. So during this formative year level, the workbook concentrates solely on how to handwrite each letter from the alphabet in lowercase or uppercase, whether the motion is anti-clockwise or clockwise. Then there is further practice on I family letters and U family letters. I and U family letters are, these are letters that are handwritten using a similar motion or technique. Year one. So these skills are then reinforced in years 1 and then again in year 2. Repetition, modelling and practice, this really ensures that students are able to develop correct and automatic handwriting technique. As mentioned earlier, developing handwriting automaticity will have a flow-on effect into areas like reading, writing, spelling and grammar improvement. And again, you can see the content for the year 1 is repeated in year 2, but embellished and made more year level appropriate. So commencing in year 3, the student books introduce letters that join and letters that do not join. Tricky joins are introduced in year 4. The student book provides modelling on how to execute tricky joins with letters like Z, X, E, S, and F. So in year 5, the student book provides modelling and practice on speed loops. Again, the exercises within the student books are consistently providing that modelling and practice that will lead to proficient handwriting technique in automaticity. Then finally, in year 6, all of the various handwriting exercises are embellished and revisited in the revision, fluency and legibility, and matching script to purpose sections. So as you can see, the student book supports motor skills, practice, modelling, explicit teaching instruction, and fluent handwriting techniques. So moving on from the print resources that are available under Oxford Handwriting, I'm going to talk a little bit about the free digital components that are on offer for Oxford Handwriting. So these free digital components are available on Oxford Owl, and there are interactive activities, worksheets for Foundation to 2, and certificates for Foundation to 6, and then there are even some PDFs that include how to use information for each of those student books for Foundation to Year 6. For those of you that are not aware of what Oxford Owl is our online primary resource platform, and it's free to register with Oxford Owl, and Oxford Handwriting is free to access once you've registered. For those of you that already use Oxford Owl, I'm going to point out where to find the Oxford Handwriting tile once you log in. So here it is. This is oxfordowl.com.au. So if you do not currently have a teacher login, you can register by clicking on this link here and following the prompts. If you do have a teacher login, you can click on the teacher login option here, enter your details, and then log in. And then the Oxford Handwriting tile is located down here. So as you can see here, all of the Oxford Handwriting state-specific resources are divided into columns. You've got Queensland here, Victoria here, New South Wales here, and Western Australia here. We'll focus on the Handwriting First for Victoria column, which has digital teaching activities, worksheets, a how to use section, and a student award certificate section. We'll start off with the digital teaching activities section. So as you can see here, this is Handwriting First for Victoria, the digital interactive activities. There is a link to the Oxford Wordlist website up on the top left here. There is a help option up here, and if you click on that option, it opens up information on how to connect this interactive activity with your interactive whiteboard in the classroom. Just that little bit more assistance that teachers might require to set this up in front of a class. Now I'm going to click Go, and we'll move on to the actual interactive activities. So as you'll notice here, the 3 Ps are repeated again: posture, paper position, pencil grip. So these can be projected up onto the interactive whiteboard or onto the monitor in front of the class, and that way everyone can see what the correct posture, paper position, and pencil grip is. Now down below, you'll notice that we have letters in lowercase from A to Z, letters in uppercase from A to Z, numerals from 1 to 10. We have an Oxford Words word list option here, and a Your Own Words option here as well. But what we'll do is we'll start off with the lowercase interactive activity. So from here, you can select a letter. Once you select the letter, you'll see that it is the actual motion, and is demonstrated up the top here with the trace function, which you can switch on or off. The guidelines, which you can switch on and off. And then down below, this is where the teacher would physically demonstrate how to write the letter. The teacher could even call upon a student to come up the front of the class and demonstrate the letter as well. Also, you'll notice on the right-hand side here in this dialogue that Eddie, Pippa, and Star will often appear, providing more explicit teaching instruction. So as you can see here, I think that's Pippa there saying curl right and down and bounce once, twice, then curl up. Just provides that extra bit of information and assistance with your students in how to write the letters correctly. Moving on to the capitals or uppercase letters. Again, you can select a letter. The trace feature is switched on up here in the top dialog, and that demonstrates how the letter is written. Then the teacher will come down to this bottom feature and demonstrate that in front of the class as well. Or as advised earlier, the teacher could call upon a student to come up the front and demonstrate how to write the letter correctly as well. Following on from that, there's also option to demonstrate how to handwrite numbers correctly. So as you can see on the top here, handwriting figure eights in the trace function. Then down below, there is an option to track and demonstrate how to correctly write the number 8. Moving on to the Oxford Wordlist interactive activity. When you select one of the letters from the left-hand dialog here, you'll notice that all of the words beginning with F, which are contained in our Oxford Wordlist, are presented. You can select one of those words, and then the trace feature will demonstrate how that word is handwritten. Accordingly, the teacher can use the track feature below or a student. And then finally, the teacher could call upon the class to request a word that the students would like to see handwritten. Perhaps a word like cat. All you need to do is switch on the trace feature, and that will demonstrate how the word is handwritten. And then down below, the teacher or a student can demonstrate that in front of the class on an interactive whiteboard or via a computer projected onto a screen. So that's the interactive activities that are available via Oxford Hour, via the Oxford Handwriting tile. As mentioned earlier, there are additional worksheets that can be accessed from here too. The worksheets cover Foundation to Year 2, and there is approximately over 100 worksheets that are available. Teachers can select a year level and then further filter the different worksheets via the available options in this dialog. So here there are worksheets for anti-clockwise letters and clockwise letters, I family letters, U family letters, numerals, all letters. Then there's some assessment and blank line worksheets as well. And then it is a matter of just clicking download, and you can obtain that form, print it off, or email it out to your students. As mentioned before, teachers can even download some student award certificates here. Another handy little extra that will save you time in the classroom. And then finally, I might have mentioned this earlier, there's also how to use documentation here for each of the student workbooks from Foundation to Year 6. So as you can see here in the Year 3 how to use this book documentation, you can see there is some samples of the pages within the student book. and some further information on how to best perform the various activities and exercises within that student book. So that is the Oxford Handwriting digital interactive activities, worksheets and certificates that are available via Oxford OWL. So how do we tie this all together? To do this, we recommend the intuitive teaching sequence. For best practice, we recommend that teachers do the following. They introduce, model, practice, and consolidate. Introduce. Use the online resources available on Oxford OWL to demonstrate the letter formation. Teachers would use the interactive digital teaching activities to model the letter formation, and it's also an opportunity for teachers to provide that explicit teaching instruction and demonstrate to students how to write letters and numbers correctly. Model. Using the online resource as an example, allow students to model the correct technique by tracing the letters and numbers. So teachers could call upon students to attempt the correct modeling technique of letters themselves using the interactive activities and the class interactive whiteboard. Alternatively, teachers could request students follow along by recreating the flow and structure of letters by tracing their finger in the air. Students could be asked to model the letters by writing them on the whiteboard or in their exercise books. Practice. So how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, that is. Students can do independent practice in their workbooks. Most of the workbooks are over 50 pages, so there's plenty of opportunities to complete exercises, develop automaticity using the track, trace and copy activities, and take direction from the recurring characters Eddie, Pippa, Star and Tracker Jack that is, and complete the self-assessments. And then finally, consolidate. Download the activity sheets from Oxford OWL for students to do further practice. As mentioned earlier, worksheets are available to download from via the Oxford Handwriting tile once you register and log into Oxford OWL. The worksheets provide more opportunity to develop those handwriting skills, automaticity and confidence. Repetition will assist in building those motor skills and muscle memory. So, why use Oxford Handwriting? Explicit teaching instruction using track, trace and copy in the workbooks and digital and interactive activities to model technique. Motor skill development, including muscle memory and working on that handwriting technique. Practice and consolidation will build that automaticity and reduce the cognitive load. And developing handwriting automaticity will have a positive flow-on effect into the students' reading, writing, spelling, and grammar skills. So finally, we had a couple of questions that were very good questions, and we weren't able to answer them comprehensively earlier on in the workshop today. So I've gone off and done some research and I'll be able to answer them now for you. So we had one question in regards to what order teachers need to teach the letters in. And we did a little bit of research and clarification via Victoria's Education and Training website, and they recommend that the introduction of letters and to do it in groups rather than ABC order, and the order of this is to do anti-clockwise letters first, which is A, C, D, G, Q, E, O, F, and S, followed by clockwise letters, which are M, N, R, X, Z, H, K, P, And then following on from that to do I family letters, which is I, T, L, and J. And then following on from that to do the U family letters, which is U, Y, V, W, and B. So our resources actually follow this format, which has been prescribed by Victoria Education and Training. And then finally, we had one other question, which was a great question, and that was how often should handwriting be taught in the classroom? So this was a very difficult question to answer, as the State Education and Training does not prescribe how long this should be handwriting should be taught during the school day. However, I did reference an article from McMaster and Roberts, two Australian researchers that did a study into handwriting earlier on in today's workshop, and they pointed out that in their article, which I've referenced if you would like to look up after this workshop's finalised, and they pointed out that schools were teaching handwriting skills on average 81 minutes per day. So 81 minutes is an average. So from prep to year 6, each year level approximately did 81 minutes of handwriting practice during the school day. Okay, I hope you learnt something from today's workshop. And if you do have any further questions, feel free to contact myself, Patrick, or Chloe or Paul, your designated Oxford education consultants, with any questions you might have about Oxford handwriting or the importance of handwriting. We are here to help, and we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.